So, morning to everyone. I believe we're dealing with East Africa time because mostly East Africa time right now is in the morning. This introduction. My name is Kevin Oluoch. I'm a Dell EMC pre-sales for Redington Gulf, Redington Kenya Limited. I'm actually based in Nairobi. Since this thing of COVID-19, this thing has got me working from home. The funny thing is I'm based in Machakos County, so right now I'm not in Nairobi. You can also get, hello? Okay, can hear somebody has switched on his mic. So you can get reached. I've put most of my contacts. You can see my email address and my mobile number. If you, in any case, you would wish to engage me further in regards to what I'm about to present. Now, today we are mostly going to talk about the PowerEdge servers, which you normally call as the bedrock of the data center. So before I continue with the presentation, I just wanted to know if all my participants can be able to hear me. Just a confirmation by just saying hi and just stating your name.
We request all the participants to please mention a hi and put their name in the Q&A tab on the left.
Oh, okay. So Rakesh, I'm not really sure. Okay, how does this Zoho work? Because on the page itself, I can only be able to view my PPT, and I'm not able to see any other comments. Oh, that's how it works.
Yes, Kevin, you may please start with the presentation. We have all the attendees confirmed here. You can please proceed with starting your presentation.
Oh, okay. So you are the one who can be able to see if the
Yes,
track
I
is
can.
on. Okay. Okay, good. Then that's okay. So guys, like I was saying, today through the PowerEdge servers. So this is a more interesting platform whereby I'm going to focus more on what actually from Dell EMC, what's really trending in terms of the servers. As you've realized right now, we are in the 14th generation type of server. So if you see, most of the servers that we're proposing are 14G. Earlier on, the predecessor was the 13G. If I can give an example of some of the 13G servers you've heard about, the R730s or the R430s. But if you want to get note of the 14G servers, we are talking about things like or R640s. Those are kind of servers that we talk about. And then one of our unique thing that I wanted to go through with you guys as overview is our new blade server, which is the MX series. So earlier on, we used to have the M1000, I guess the M1000E. So most of you have heard about it, but you heard that it's also going end of life. Now currently, if any customer was interested in purchasing a new M1000E, that one won't be possible because the type of server itself had gone end of life and was replaced by the MX1000, which is also a particular product that's also very interesting. Now, talking about servers, there are slight things that you're going to talk about in terms of what modern data center involves. And this include transforming the business. Now, what do I mean by transformation of the business? So, if you've realized, especially like what's really hitting the way COVID-19 has really hit the economy, especially in any market. If you go to Europe, if you come to Africa, Asia, everywhere, you've realized now any particular company that has not taken in their transformation to become modernized, they're really being hit hard. Take, for example, even locally here, most of the banks, right now, most of the applications that they're using, most are preferred to be using most of their mobile apps. Now, how does that mobile app work? You have to, most of the banks will find that they have a modern data center whereby most of the applications can be able to be downloaded on mobile phones, and you can be able to access your mobile phone like doing any transaction that you need rather than coming physically to the bank and engaging most of the customer service to do a transaction. So instead of the old time whereby the bank going to the bank meant you could do a lot, you'll find like nowadays with the mobile platform, people can do so much. Now that's what engage in terms of transforming the business. Now, Dell EMC strategy in terms of modernization is, first of all, the key one is digital transformation. And the digital transformation is what I'm talking about. Is, are you, the company itself, are they able to have an infrastructure whereby it can be able to support more of the new upcoming applications? Take, for example, the one I've talked about, the mobile application for the bank. The days are gone where the core banking system was everything. Right now, the core banking system should be able to also communicate with the mobile application system that are being developed. So every customer that will like to engage into this digital transformation should also have a strategy of having a modernized data center, and also be able to have applications that can be able to access through the cloud platform. And that's where the digital transformation comes through. Now, one of the main driver in modernization are the applications. So any environment where there's any changes that needs to be done, the application has to be a very key point. And that's what brings about the digital transformation. The other strategy now we are talking about is the IT transformation. Now, you've modernized most of the applications that can be able to run on the cloud. But now you're looking at the infrastructure underlying below. Is the infrastructure able to run the digital transformation? Now, that's where IT transformation comes. So, such that now any customer that wishes to get a digital transformation, they also have to modernize most of their infrastructure. And that's where the IT transformation comes about. With that involved, there's also workforce transformation. Now, like right now, if you see the scenario right now, I'm actually working from home, and I'm able to do a presentation to most of you who are working in different locations. So that's what the work transformation comes in. Like, for example, if a work transformation, are you able to, the customer, is he able to give most of their users systems, like for example, systems that can be able to work, enable them to work remotely without them actually having to work from the office? Because nowadays, working is no longer a 9 to 5 scenario. People work any sort of time. Like, for example, you realize even things have really changed compared to before. You realize like most of the people will reply to mails using their phones instead of the old times where somebody had to come to the office, check the mails and do something. If you see Dell EMC strategy, I don't need actually to be in the office to make a configuration for a customer. All I can do is access my laptop, configure a solution to a customer, and present it to a customer. So that's what is meant by work transformation. And then finally, one key feature that has to be really be cautious about is security transformation. Think of it now, you are transforming everything. You're having application that can be able to be accessed from the cloud. You're also doing IT transformation where you are trying to modernize your infrastructure to be able to support the kind of application that you're doing for digital transformation. At the same time, you're also having a workforce transformation whereby most of your customers are able to access your system from anywhere at any time. Now, one key thing that you need to take note is the security, because right now you're being vulnerable. So security transformation. So the type of security that also you're trying to apply must also be able to protect your system, and which is very key. So those are most of the things that works when it comes to transformation of businesses. Now, long time ago, the IT department was being taken as a break and fix scenario, where it purely was meant to run the operations. Like, for example, if the IT department was just make sure the SAP systems are running very well, they had to make sure the network topology was okay. But right now, things have really changed. You'll find like IT is now part of business. Like, for example, if a business is having a focus in terms of doing a new launch of something, they always have to involve IT. And that's now where any customer in any region or any customer in any level, for example, the entry, the mid-range, the enterprise, both of them have a strategy of looking IT as part of the business. It's no longer an operational department like it used to be. So if you want a strategy in terms of, any customer has a strategy in terms of expanding or launching something, they always have to include IT to be able to be involved in the business results. Now that's more which is talking about. So you'll find like most of the CEOs are becoming more of the CIOs, because now they're being involved more on the business instead of just sitting there and for something to happen. They have to really engage IT so that anything that wants, any customer that wants anything to be done, that it has to be done in terms of IT wise. Now the strategy, if you look at the history very well, before Dell acquired EMC, Dell used to be just a company that deals with servers, network, and also some of the technologies that they already have, like, for example, VMware. Now, after the acquisition of EMC, the company became Dell Technologies. So with Dell Technologies, we also have underlying departments where the acquisition brought about Dell Technologies being one of the hugest vendor in terms of providing platform for every customer, that every level of solution that the customer wants. For example, if you talk about endpoints, if customer is interested in endpoints, that's why you will find like Dell being there. So Dell purely deals with endpoints in terms of the laptop, desktop, the workstations, also the mobile devices. So that's where Dell involved, and that one caters for most of the clients in terms of the endpoints that they require. Now, when it comes to enterprise, we have Dell EMC. So Dell EMC purely is a department where now all the enterprise solutions, we are talking about the servers that you're going to look at, the PowerEdge servers. We're also looking at storage systems. If you heard about the Unity system or the AC, the compelling systems. We're again talking about the networking, because right now you know Dell purely does networking. And we're also talking about backup systems. So with Dell EMC, that one purely deals with the enterprise systems. Pivotal is purely based on analytics. So if you want business analytics, if customer needs business analytics, that's a branch where Pivotal will assist with. There's also RSA, which is purely based on security, majorly enterprise. And there's also SecureWorks, which is also based on security, majorly looking at the clients or entry level. There's also VirtuStream, which is a way of connecting to the cloud. So yes, you've realized cloud is almost like everything. We are talking about this. We are talking about the public cloud, the private cloud, and also the hybrid cloud. So VirtuStream is a platform where Dell EMC uses in case customers wish to be able to have access to the cloud. And then finally, VMware, which I don't need to talk about because VMware has been known for virtualization for major different platforms. So Dell Technologies also has a huge amount of shares when it comes to VMware. So if you look at Dell Technologies, is like a vendor that is able to cover you on all solutions, depend from client end to enterprise point, depending on which application. So there's so much products that are included with Dell Technologies. Now we are looking at the servers and also looking at what do we look at what do you look at when talking about modernized data center. So there are three key factors that you always consider. That's adapt to scale, automate, and protect. Now, what do we mean by adapt to scale? Adapt to scale is purely meaning that what if a customer buys something, in future if he wants to upgrade, will he be able to do that? So that's mostly what it means by adapt to scale. Or if a customer buys an item and he wants to introduce an application, will the application be able to work with the system that they have? So that's majorly what is talked about when he talked about adapt. And then when you look at automate, is we are trying to reduce the manual interaction of installing or doing anything on the long gone are the days where somebody will come with a CD, install manually the operating system, configure the NICs, configure the hard drives. Those were the old times. Nowadays, people have a situation whereby if he brings a system, everything, so long as he just clicks a tab to install, you'll find like all the, like for example, if they had like 10 servers, all the servers will automatically be installed and configured as per the requirements, so long as they give a predefined configuration that they require. So that's what we're talking about, automate. And then to protect, which is also a very key thing. Remember, we talked about security transformation. So yes, you're modernizing your data center. So how sure are you protecting it? One key thing that Dell is really pushing is instead of bolting security, they insist on built-in security, which is more secure compared to what just bolt. And those are the kind of things we're going to look at ahead. So yes, so we were talking about let's go back. Adapt to scale, automate, and protect. Those are the key features that we're looking at when it comes to modern compute. Now, like I was talking about the PowerEdge servers and what they can be able to deliver. Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm really sorry to interrupt you. But Kevin, we can't see your slides change. Can you just verify?
Okay, can you confirm if the slides are changing?
No, we can not see the slides changing. We can just see the same slide for the past 15 minutes.
Okay, let me see.
Yes, now we can see them changing.
It's changed.
Now it has changed, yes.
So I was talking. Pardon?
Please maximize your PPT, and can you please go into the presentation mode?
I'm actually on presentation mode. Is there any change?
No.
Now?
No.
There's something there. Because I'm actually on presentation mode where I'm not able to do anything else. Because now if I do this from if mode, is it?
Yes, I can see it now.
Now problem is it okay like that?
Yeah, but you can also go on the top bar and just go into the presentation button. You can just run the presentation.
Yeah. If I run the presentation, you are saying the slides are not moving. But when I leave the presentation mode, the slides are moving.
Okay, all right. But just make sure that okay, all right. Please continue then.
Okay, let me just use it like this.
Okay, all right.
So you see the slides are changing faster. Okay, guys, sorry about that. So I hope the presentation is now looking, can be able to see it. So when I was talking about the PowerEdge servers and what we can be able to deliver, so I talked about adapt to scale. Now, if you look at most of the PowerEdge servers, we have different ranges for different specifications. We all have from entry level to mid range to enterprise. Now, scalability in terms of most of the servers have different scalability in terms of drives, different scalability in terms of memory capacity, different scalability in terms of even the processors. So not one solution meets all requirements. Different solution meet different customer requirements. So that's where you find by scalable business architecture where Dell has focused on. Now, intelligent automation. When I talk about intelligent automation, most of the Dell PowerEdge servers have, if you ever realize, we have something called iDRAC and Open Manage. So those are the key things that actually drive intelligent automation. So it's gone are the days where you should manually configure the server, and it will take so much time to be able to finish a configuration of one server. Right now we're talking about be able to configure so many servers, but using the most minimal time and most minimal effort. And then when I talk about integrated security, like I said earlier, Dell EMC believes in a built-in security infrastructure rather than a bolted security infrastructure. What I mean by this, when you're buying a Dell PowerEdge server, when you're getting it from the factory itself, the security is already embedded inside the system, so that the system can be able to detect from the firmware level if there's any security breach, so that from this production to the shipping to until the customer, it reaches the customer environment, this firmware, the security level has already been embedded, so that if it is any breach of security, customer can be able to realize from the, like I said, from the firmware level, rather than where before, where somebody will purchase a server, get it to the customer site, and then now buy a third-party security appliance and add it on top so that it can be able to secure the server. Dell believes in a built-in security platform. With that in mind, we're going to look at like some of the scalability of PowerEdge servers. So most of them, some of the features that you're looking up is real-time analytics. You've realized that also there are some servers that will come with NVMe drives. Those are non-volatile memory drives, which are very fast. And that's if there's an application that will require a high-end the drives, most of the servers can be able to do that. And then we're talking about software-defined storage. Now, we have servers that have huge amount of capacity, so that if you're proposing a solution to a customer, you don't actually need to get a storage. The server on itself can be able to provide the storage by itself without including a third-party device. And then most of the servers are being used for virtual desktop infrastructure. Yes, most of these servers can be able to run most of the VDI systems. Depending on which server you're proposing, it will also depend on the number of users on the VDI system that you need to achieve. So those are mostly based on the scalable business architecture that most of the servers can be able to achieve. Now, looking at also on terms of intelligent automation, three key things is being very simple. You'll find that most of the solutions that are based on automation are very simple to use. Most of them are graphical user interface. And then they're also very efficient. What do I mean by efficient? Like most of the servers infrastructure is being utilized to the maximum. There's no point where there are some items that are being underutilized. Again, when you're talking about updating servers, the system can be able to update on itself efficiently rather than you going to search for a particular update and be able to install it on the server. And then one key thing is also availability. In fact, like with this automation, without the manual intervention, most of the time the servers runs 24/7 as per customer environment. There's no time where they'll require any shutdown. So that makes the system so much available and helping the customer be able to run smoothly without any issues. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the integrated security. So most like I said, a built-in infrastructure is way better than a bolted-in infrastructure. By that I mean it will make the protection much effective, also making the solution much reliable because now the solution itself has already come from the factory, already built in with the security, and then also without including third-party security systems or something like that. Recovering in case of any issues is much easier and much quick, and that's what makes rapid recovery on most of the Dell EMC system much easier. So with Dell servers, we have clearly defined some of the targets that we are looking at in terms of modernizing the data center. So we looked at scalable business architecture. Those are the kind of the strategies that Dell PowerEdge servers have achieved. There's also intelligent automation, and finally the integrated security. Now with all that, those are the strategies that even with the other vendors, those are the things that we need to be looked, and that's what's making Dell EMC have a high tier compared to most of the competitors. Now we're going to look at some of the products when it comes to PowerEdge servers which Dell provides. Something I need you to note is when I'm talking about only the rack servers and MX, I'm not limiting you guys to only those two types of servers. Dell has a huge, broad, wide range of servers. Talking about the towers, the modular ones, which we have the FX2s. We also have the things we call the VRTX. We also have we're calling the AMD servers. So my key thing is, since I'm doing this presentation just to align you as what is really trending in the market, that's the way why I'm focusing mostly on the rack servers and the blade servers, which is the newly launched MX series. So like I said earlier, we have the towers, the racks, and the modular. So there's a huge broad range when it comes to servers, especially from Dell EMC. As you can see, these are the racks, these are the towers, these are the modular ones, and then there's also the super high X series servers, some of them that haven't really talked about, but also they also include. So the huge range of servers gives our customers a variety of options in case they want a solution. Not for customer benefit. So different solutions are meant for different customers, depending on their budget, depending on the solution they want to achieve, depending on what kind of server that they're really interested in. And also another key thing is, one key thing that you need to come out of here is modernization, like the things we talked about: IT transformation, digital transformation, and finally workforce transformation. So Dell covers most of all that in terms of the the technologies that they offer. Now we're going to look at starting with the rack servers. So the rack servers, we have two models. We have the single socket servers and also have the dual socket servers. Actually, we have four types of servers. We have three types of servers. We have the single socket, dual socket, and the four socket server. So depending on what customer is interested in, every solution we have for the customer. If they want an entry-level server, a single socket server will work for them. And this is purely based on the rack. If they want a dual socket server, we also have the same achievable. If they want a four socket server, also that is achievable. And that's where the scalable business architecture works, a solution for any particular customer. Now, looking at the rack servers, one of our enterprise server is the R940xa. So this is majorly a 3U server. This is our most enterprise server. Supports up to 4 processors. So the minimum amount of processors that can work on this server system is 2. Now, targeted workloads include compute-intensive applications. So if you have applications that really need so much compute, the R940xa will be a very, very good solution to work with. And then there's this new technology that's happening where involves machine learning and artificial intelligence, where you find like machines are being processed to be able to learn some human interactions and also deliver some of the artificial intelligence that they have in terms of most of their laptops nowadays. They try to learn you. Like for example, another unique feature of most laptops that you'll have is you'll find your laptop trying to interact with you, trying to ask you questions like, what do you want to search? Another thing of machine, those are some of the examples that involves in machine learning. Like another thing is if you look at Google Maps nowadays, it kind of interacts with you. It will give you direction by through talking to you. So they kind of thing. So when it comes to that, what is the underlying infrastructure? Is it really be where most of the target workloads live? And then lastly, we are looking at GPU intensive applications. So we're talking about GPU database acceleration. So if you have databases that require GPU, the R940xa will be very, very good solution for that. In terms of processing, the solution can do up to 112 cores and a total memory of 15 TB, so that it can process a lot. And then when you're talking about the drives capability, remember I talked about solution being so scalable that they can be able to, a server can be able to have its own storage instead of having a third-party storage. So you're talking about this 940xa can hold up to 32 drives. So those are the key highlights that you also need to look at, because this is a very dense type of server. And then another key thing, unique thing about this storage is, can you be able to attach NVMe drives and be able to be supported on the server? So that's another key feature that also enables the R940xa be a very, very good product, especially for one of their enterprise customers. The next kind of server you're looking at is the R940. So the difference between the R940xa and R940 is purely based on some of the features. You find like the R940 has no GPU capabilities, but the R940xa has those GPU capabilities. Another key difference thing is in terms of the dense capacity in terms of the drives. You find that the R940xa does up to 32 drives of 2.5 inch, while the R940 can do up to 25 drives of 2.5, up to 24 drives of 2.5 inch. Now, targeted workloads include the in-memory database. That's where it can be used for. It can also be used on analytics and also very dense virtualizations. Now, like I said, these are 14G servers. So especially when you get requirements from customers where they're requesting for the older generation, you need to also advise the customer that there are newer servers that have come up from Dell EMC. So those are the kind of the features that the R940 also has. Then those are major 4-socket servers. Like I said, the minimum number of sockets that each server can have is 2, and the maximum number of sockets that all the R940 and the R940xa can be able to achieve is 4-socket servers. And these are available in the market, especially in the East African market. Now, we also have another 4-socket server, which is an R840. So I don't want to go into deep with this, because one thing you need to know about the R840 currently is not available for the East Africa market. So when you get customer requesting for this R840 server, I'll opt for you propose an equivalent R940, or if you're not able to configure an equivalent R940, you can always just send me the mail and I can able to assist you with that. So please note, we have another 4-socket server, which is the R840, but currently it's not available for the EMEA market. Now, after the 4-socket server, we also have the 2-socket server. So our one key 2-socket server is the R740XD. The R740. So this is a 2-socket server. The minimum amount of socket that can start with is 1, and then you can upgrade to 2. Some of the targeted workloads its focus for is VDI, and also there's also AI and machine learning, like we talked about. And then another very key thing is private cloud. So you've seen people, like right now, any application you're running has to be digital. So going private cloud is another strategy when you want to join the cloud. So you'll find like the R740 will actually also do very well when it comes to digital transformation and also IT transformation for any customer that's looking at that point. Now, R740 is our 2U server, while the R940 is our 3U. So depending on the form factor that customers are interested in, because if you see most of the tenders on the specification, they always list on what the requirements they want. So if it's a 3U server, go with the R940. If it's a 2U server, go with the 740. The maximum amount of drives that can be held on this R740 are 16 2.5-inch drives or 8 3.5-inch drives, depending on what the customer wants. So if they want the 3.5-inch form factor, those are you can maximum of 8. If they want the 2.5-inch size of drives, they'll go with the 16, or is either 16, it's up to 16, but also can do up to 8 2.5-inch. So depending on what they want. Our next model of server is the R740XD. So this is a more dense. That's the difference between R740XD and R740. R740XD is a more dense server. You'll find like it can hold up to 32 2.5-inch. So actually it's supposed to be R740XD2 is the one that can hold up to 32 2.5-inch, while the R740XD can do up to 25 2.5-inch. So depending on how dense you want your server, the R740XD can do that for you. So like I said, you can need to differentiate. There's still the 2U, similar configuration as the R740, but the R740XD and the R740XD2, they're 2U, but with different dense capability. In terms of targeted workloads, we are looking at software-defined storage. So since they have the capability of holding up much storage, those are the kind of targeted workloads we'll propose to them. There's big data and unstructured data analytics. And finally, service providers when it comes to, especially the telcos where they want to offer hosting services. So this is a very good platform for customers that will want that. So please note, For R740XD, we have two options. There's the R740XD2, which is also 2U, a 2-socket server, which holds up to 32 2.5-inch drives or 18 3.5-inch drives. And then we have the option of R740XD, which holds up to 2.5-inch, 25 2.5-inch drives. And lastly, it can do up to 12 3.5-inch drives. So those are the difference between the R740XD and XD2. Now, going to our one new server, which is also very interesting, we have the R740. Oh, this is the already talked about this. This is the R740XD2. Now, earlier on I talked about the AMD servers. So Dell EMCs do not have only Intel processor server. We also have the AMD processor server. Why AMD? Because of the cores. You can get so much cores from AMD compared to Intel. For a single socket Intel processor, you can get up to 28 cores, while for a single socket AMD processor, you can get up to 32 cores. So that's the major difference between the AMD processors and the Intel processors. So we have the PowerEdge R7525. So targeted workloads for this kind of environment, we're talking about the virtual desktop infrastructure. We're looking at all flash, software-defined storage, and also we're looking at data analytics. So in terms of disk capability, it can do up to 24 2.5-inch. So you can see it's a very dense platform. That's why you can see it's purely targeted for the software-defined storage. And then can do up to 12 3.5-inch drives. So if a customer is interested in a dense server with AMD processor to achieve huge amount of cores, this is the kind of server that you could propose to a customer. The other type of AMD server we are looking at is the 6525. You notice that now the form factor is changed from 2U to 1U. So most of these, the 7 series are more of 2U form factor, while the 6 series are more of the 1U form factor. So targeted workloads for this type, this is a 2-socket processor, AMD. Targeted workloads are high performance computing, dense virtual desktop infrastructure, and virtualization. So the server itself can do up to 12 2.5-inch drives, which is okay, and then up to 4 3.5-inch drives. So depending on the type of workload that you can see it's running, it's workloads that don't need so much dense storage. And the form factor is also 1U, so that it can be able to be racked in the data center as so many devices without occupying so much space. So for one key thing you just need to know, these are one socket of AMD processor can do up to 32 cores. So meaning on this processor, on this type of server, you can get a total of 64 cores from the R6525 1U infrastructure. Now, remember, we also have single socket AMD processors. The difference between the dual socket and the single socket processors, it will be noticed by this, the last digit 2 on every AMD processor. If it's an R6525, that's a 2-socket server. If it's an R7525, that's a 2-socket server. But if it's an R7515, so the second last digit 1 states that this is a single socket processor, meaning it's a 2U server but capabilities of doing up to 32 cores. So targeted workloads, we're talking about virtualization, software defined storage, and data analytics. So if you need to realize that the R7515 is similar to R7525, The only difference is this is a single socket, while the R7525 is a two socket, dual socket. In terms of dense capacity on in the storage, it does similar drives compared to similar drives as the same as the R7525. So R7515, these are AMD type of processors. And then for our last AMD single socket, you're looking at R6515. Also note the last digit is also 1. So compared to the R6525, which is a dual socket, this R6515 is a single socket. Targeted workloads, you're talking about virtualization, hyperconverged infrastructure, and network function virtualization. So those are the key features where the platform workloads where the R6515 AMD processor could be used. Now, going back to our Intel servers. So, the last Intel server we talked about was the i740 XD2, which is a 2U. So this is can do one socket or dual socket, but in a 1U chassis. Targeted workloads include high performance computing. So it's mainly be for Dell validated solutions for HPC. We're talking about ready nodes. So like there's these, we have Dell EMC ready nodes. So you find like most of the nodes that are being proposed are using R7640 server. It's also virtualization software and also so the workload that in terms of capacities, it can do 5-inch drives and a maximum for up to 2.5-inch drives. The storage itself can also support GPU depending on the workload that you want. If you wish to run GPU in the system, you can also be able to do that. Be able to up to 7 GB memory. So that's huge. But it fits all customer requirements. Different solutions from Dell EMC can satisfy. Our range of a form factor with 2 sockets. Now I want to really look into the. Remember what about the R840. If you have a customer requirement where they have stated they want R840, I told you you can either propose an R940 if the customer is insisting on having a 4-socket server. But if they only want a 2-socket server, the best option instead of proposing R840 will go you go with the R740 XD, because most of the features in terms of the R840, like for example, being able to hold up to 2.5 inch drives, can be able to be R740 XD, because it's being able to hold up to 32 2.5 inch drives. So we go with the R740. If they want 4-socket server, similar to the R540. If customer wants with 2 sockets, then and they're insisting they want 2U server, then propose a R40. and that's R740, not R740X, R740. If they want 2U server with 2.5 inch drives socket. If they want 3.5 inch drive, then propose R740. So those are, it's a bit tricky, but it, if you know the test of the R740, most of these products are not available for the EMEA market. Reason being, we already have training products with similar configuration and more advantage compared to the product itself. So that's the reason why they're not really available for the EMEA market. And then lastly, but not least, we have the R440 server, our one new form factor dual socket. So can do up to a maximum of 2 sockets. We are talking about 56 cores. So remember, each socket has 28 cores maximum. So for this R440 server can do up to 56 cores. Targeted workloads, you're looking at high performance computing, virtualization, web tech deployments, and also service provided in terms of application tier. So if they need application hosting, especially customers, this is the kind of solution that we propose. Some of the key features you're looking at, it can do up to 10 2.5 inch drives and up to 4 3.5 inch drives. So those are the key things. In terms of looking at up to 1 TB. This is entry level server. If a customer has a 2-socket server, R440 will do quite well in any environment that the customer is interested. In terms of budget wise, it's also very affordable. So R440 well. And then we also have the single socket servers. So we are talking about the R340. So these are purely single socket, almost entry level. So targeted workloads are looking at collaboration sharing, method file sharing, especially for those customers that want to run their mail system. R340 will do quite well. In terms of core capabilities, so remember, these are very entry level server. So the maximum cores that the processor can be run on this are 8 cores. So this is a 8-core processor maximum. Compared to the R440, which is considered as entry level, the maximum the R440 can do is up to 28 cores. So you see the R440 can do mid-range depending on what the customer will want, while the R340 is a pure entry level server. And then it can hold up to 8 2.5 inch drives and up to 4 3.5 inch drives. And then lastly, when it comes to the rack servers, we also have the single socket R240. Like I said earlier, so just take note of this: R540 and R240. These are currently not available. Reason being is we have other features that can also give better requirements compared to what these servers can do. So that's the reason why they're currently not really available for the EMEA market. So like I said, if you have an opportunity for R240, go with the R340. If you have an opportunity for R540, the best consideration is the R740, depending on the drives. If it's a 2.5 inch drive is required, or if it's a 3.5 inch drive is required, go with the R740XE. If you have an opportunity for an R840, where the customer is requesting for R840, your best option is going for the R940 if they need a 4-socket server. But if the customer needs a 2-socket server on an R840, the best R940 XD. I think that's much in terms of the rack servers. Now, if you have any questions, you'll be just please note them down. Rakesh will highlight them so that I can go through them later. But right now, we are trying just to pass through this and then we finish. Now, our next model of server, which I told you is very interesting. We're talking about the MX series, which was one of our modular servers. So this is one of our modular servers. So like earlier on, I explained to you, we had the M1000E. So the MX series, what it kind of do, it replaced the M1000E. So the M1000E is actually end of life, meaning a customer cannot be able to order a new server for especially the M1000E. What can only be done on the M1000E is, in case they want an upgrade in terms of server, they can do that. If they want an upgrade in terms of connectivity, they can do that. But ordering an M1000E currently from Dell EMC, that's not possible. If they want an option of a modular blade server from Dell EMC, it's better you go with the MX series. Now, looking at MX series, so most of the features are aligned with the 14G PowerEdge family in terms of the processors. In the main convention, you'll see the MX740C. If you look at most of the R740, and are intended to support multiple feature generation of compute. So you'll find like the processors are quite similar. Now, if you see right now, there's bronze, there's silver, there's gold, and then there's platinum, depending on which kind of. Those are the new Intel generation, Intel processors. So all those Intel processors are the same Intel processor running on this MX series. Looking at some of the features that are included on the chassis, this can support up to 8 standard height or 4 double wide front loading sleds. Now, what do I mean by that? If you see, we have a 2 server and you have a 4-socket server. So when I say a 2-socket, we are talking about the MX740C. So those are one of our 2-socket server. So you can, for the 2-socket server, it can do up to 8. So we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fully populated MX chassis. Now, if it's a 4-socket, the MX840 go up to 4. So we're talking about 2, 3, 4 fully populated server. So those are the different kind of configuration you can have. Another thing to note is you don't actually require to populate the chassis with similar servers. Like for example, you can mix the 2-socket server without any issue. In terms of the networking, it's actually based on the rear. Below here are the cooling fans, and then if you can realize, also we have the internal the storage system that can be SAS connected on the MX series. Now, looking at the MX chassis, this is a 7U chassis, which I already told you it can support up to 8 2 servers and up to 4 4-socket servers. One key thing to take note is most of the management of server is done, is all the servers are managed as one. And then from here you can see you can have the whole platform having all the servers plus the storage system on it. And then depending on the kind of network which you're going to look at that you wish to propose, it can support both the 10 gig BST or the SFP, and then also the range of the speed. You're talking about the 25 gig network speeds, 40 gig network speeds, even 100 gig network speed. So the MX series has that ability to achieve all that. Now, for the R740C, which is our two-socket server, most of the target use cases that it's meant to be used is majorly on the virtualization. You can see it can hold up to 6 drives of 2.5 inch. And then realize, like I said earlier on, this can be on the chassis itself, can do up to, it can be slotted a maximum of 8 servers on the MX chassis. Our next one is the MX840C. So it's a 4-socket server. As you can see, it can hold up to 8 drives of 2.5 inch. So it's quite dense compared to the R740. Each processor can do up to 20 cores. So a totaling of, so meaning in total you can do up to 28 times 28. This is 28 times 4. We talk about 112 cores, which is huge. So the target use cases would be, it's majorly for database driven or mission critical applications, and also can also be used on big data analytics and performance workloads. Now, for the server itself, we only have 2 models of servers. We have the MX740C, which is a dual socket, which can be used on the MX series. The other option is the MX840C, which is our 4-socket server that can also be used on the MX. Now, the MX also have the storage system that can also be inbuilt. So this is the PowerEdge MX5016S storage. Now, if you want a chassis without any external storage device, this is the type of storage that you include on the chassis. And this is purely SAS. The connection between the servers and the storage is purely SAS built. Targeted use cases is software defined storage. If you want to create a vSAN so that the servers can be able to access the storage. It can also be used for databases, things like SQL or ERP, when you want to provide storage for such applications. And then lastly, can also be used for virtualization. So this will provide a very dense footprint for your virtual environment, and also offer you flexibility, because right now you're running an environment with your own compute and own storage. And then on the back end, you have the networking. So PowerEdge MX has different kind of networking solutions. So here we have the MX9116N, which is a very scalable, high performance, low latency cost-effective 25G Ethernet switch for multi-chassis environment. And then in terms of networking, we also have the Dell EMC MX71X16N. This is a fabric expander. So for example, if you have different kind of chassis, but you want all of them to be connected together, most of the connection will be using the fabric expander MX7116N. And then in terms of the networking, we also have the Dell EMC networking MX5108N. This is a basic switch, non-scalable, high-performance, low-latency Internet switch targeted at 1 or 2 chassis environments. So, depending on your chassis environment, if you have more than 2 chassis environments, I would propose you go with the MX9116N, which has capability of being able to connect to a fabric expander, which we already talked about, the MX71. And then finally, like I was talking about, the MX series has capability of supporting fiber connectivity. And this fiber connectivity, you also need a fiber switch on the chassis. We have the MXG610, which is a fiber antenna switch and has a high performance of up to 32 GB data rate switch designed on it. So this solution is very cost effective. In terms, it can offer you different level of connectivity that's required, be it 100G of Ethernet, 25G of Ethernet, 40G of Ethernet. Even when you talk about fiber, when you want to connect to an external storage, you can up to 32 gig of fiber channel. So these switches are purposely built for data center infrastructure, which is purely used for integration between the servers, storage, and brings a unified platform, and then makes it a more be able to be managed as a whole. So those are the kind of features that the MX series network wide. Then lastly, there's also the management of the MX series, which we are going to look at and highlight of how MX series can be managed using OpenManage and iDRAC. So the OpenManage Enterprise, this is what is used to manage the MX. So you find like the MX 9002M management module runs on OpenManage Enterprise. The system management, delivering the capabilities of Dell EMC OpenManage Enterprise System Management to PowerEdge MX platform with no additional software to install. So this is kind of included on the MX series. This is a unified HTML platform. So if you can see on the page, it's shown on the page, the presentation, how it looks like. It's embedded on the box. That's the MX series. So this one, you can do so much with it. You can manage both the servers, the storage, the networking, everything included on the MX series using the Open Enterprise. So kind of makes it so easy or simple to be able to manage all the data center you have with the MX series. So that's much in terms of the modular server we have for blade systems. And then remember, we are looking at the scalability of data center. And right now we want to look at the automation in terms of the intelligence of the data center. We previously were looking at how open management has been included in MX series. So there's another key system that Dell EMC servers always come with, which is the iDRAC, like a server inside a server. So iDRAC is an agent-free embedded server management. So this is actually embedded on all Dell EMC servers. And then to be able to work efficiently and offer automation as all this, that's the requirement of most of the modernized data center. There's a package of open management included on the iDRAC to be able to the solution and manage the solution. With that, iDRAC is like the brains behind the automation features built in PowerEdge servers. Like if you want anything to be done on the server without you manually intervening, iDRAC will kind of do that for you. Now, what do I mean by iDRAC? This is an integrated Dell remote access controller. So it's an agent that's used to purely manage the server, while the open management enterprise is the software that now works with the installed on the iDRAC to be able now to automate most of the processes that you have on the server. Now, open manage does like 4 key things: automates deployment, updates, maintenance, and also monitoring. So those are one of the key features that iDRAC offering the platform, while open management being the software to be able to do that. Most of the customers will find it so easy to deploy their servers, especially in terms of the operating system. With using the open management, you can be able to deploy operating system in different particular servers, so long as they're Dell EMC at a go, instead of the earlier times where you had to physically install one server at a time. So those are the key benefit features that open management provides. Another key thing is updates both the BIOS, firmware, and the drivers. So you find that most of the customers don't really need actually to go and check which firmware is the latest version, which drivers need to be updated, which BIOS is the latest. All these things can be able to be managed by the open managed system. Another key thing is monitoring, checking health checks, like for example, the power supply unit, if it's being checked, the cooling fans are also being checked, the disks are checked, memory, processors. So in case of any fault, the customer gets alerts or has an alert health check being done for him and it's presented to him, rather than them actually coming physically to be able to check if there's any problem. So those are the kind of advantageous features that open managers provide to most of the customers. And then lastly, maintenance. So things like parts replacement. When in case the system goes down because of a bad feature, how fast are the customers be able to roll back? So those are the kind of advantages that open managers provide. So check the lifecycle controller to automatically back up all server hardware settings and firmware images. So every backup in terms of the BIOS or the firmware are being done and backed up on the system, so that in case of anything, the restoration is quite easy and easy for customers. So based on that, the open management suite has the capability of doing all the customer that needs. It comes to deploying, updating, maintaining, and monitoring. And then we have different forms of connectivity or integration when you have a third-party application that you want to integrate with. When it comes to open management suite, it has different consoles. So we have the Open Manage Essential and then there's also Open Manage Power Center. So depending on which license that you want or which license you're proposing to the customer, with the different features you have, those are the different kind of consoles that you have. And then when it comes to integration, like working with other third-party mansions, we have the Microsoft System Center, They have the VMware vCenter. Both Open Management will integrate with those management systems quite easily. And then when it comes to other, Open Manage can also be able to manage other third-party vendors. Talking about HP, IBM, Oracle, those are some of the other managed third-party environments. And then there's also modular management. So when I talk about modular management, just remember of X. The chassis management controller, which is on most of the MX series, Open Management can be able to link to that. And then we talk about tools and utilities. So Open Management, there's Open Manage Mobile Repository Manager, and then there's Open Manage Server Administrator, Hydra Service Module. So depending on which tool and utilities you need, Open Management has either. And then one key thing is the support assist, especially with the Pro Support Plus. So Open Management can also link to support assist. So remember when you talked about the monitor, so that you can check the health checks, alerts. In case customer has a Pro Support Plus with Dell EMC, and then there's a device that is already been alerted that it's going to fail. With services, customers can be able to get calls from Dell EMC if they activate the service and be alerted at the same time with the support assist. What will happen is, before the drive failure or power supply failure, there will be already a process of initiating a new device to be able to replace that before it fails. So customer just gets alert that in case there's a drive failure, they'll get a support assist where they get alerted that there's a certain drive is about to fail, and we are shipping the other drive to be able to replace the almost failing drive. So those are the kind of suites that are available when it comes to Open Manage suite. Now, the consoles in terms of how to access the Open Manage, like I say, it's an web platform application, so it's GUI based. It's not command based. So this is the console when it's opened on laptops, and also the same time the Open Manage can be also have an application where it can be opened on mobile platforms. So most of the Android and iOS phones can be able to have an Open Management application installed on them. So this is a mobile platform, while the other one is a PC platform. So some of the advantages that you get with the automation we are talking about is 99% less time to deploy servers. So you can, for customers, can deploy so many servers at a very short time. We're talking about 55% faster configuration of network configurations. So instead of every time configuring single server network, you can just have a range of the IP, and all 100 or 10 servers, in case you're doing it, can be done much faster. The hands-on processes have been reduced tremendously. So we are talking about 213 hands-on process being eliminated. So this is a huge advantage by involving automation on the system. 10,000 servers configured in 15 minutes. So that's a huge number of servers. So that's why it takes like 99% less time to deploy servers. 6 times faster parts replacement using iDRAC lifecycle controller. Remember, when you support, yes, you get the alerts, but also at the same time, the alerts reach customer service, where now they ship a drive before you actually. And then lastly, maintain configuration profiles with greater accuracy and 91% less time. Now, if most of the things that we do manually always have errors, but with the automation processes, this kind of reduces the errors that we tend to get when we're doing this. Now, on our last, which is in terms of integrated security, remember I said Dell approach is more based on built-in security rather than bolted in security. So you'll find like most of the Dell EMC servers already come secured. The security features already installed in them. It's not something that you need to from the firmware base level. You'll find like most companies will spend so much time on trying to secure their network, software, and the key parts where security feature has to really looked at. These are the areas that are mostly neglected, because what will happen if the firmware level somebody has already breached the solution? These other features won't be able to detect it, because it will be seen as something that came the server and it's a normal thing. And nowadays, information is everything. Long gone are the days hackers will go to try access most of the customers' data center and demand for money. Nowadays, information is the treasure, because if somebody can be able to access a customer data center and be able to get the information, sharing that information is more worth it, very expensive compared to them locking the customer from being able to access the system, because customers also become very clever, such that they will, in case of a hack, they will delete everything on the system and restore so that they can start anew. Better the less loss they are going through than opting to lose everything. So nowadays hackers also become very clever. Instead of accessing the data and locking it, they hack the data and just silently get the information, which to them sells a lot. So having an inbuilt protection system, it's more effective than bolting in other security features, which is one of their Dell strategies of inbuilt security. So based on that, Dell uses cyber resilient architecture when it comes to security. So this cyber resilient is built on a robust security guidelines from NIST. So NIST has like 5 focus areas to ensure security on server level, and this include like to identify any intrusion, to protect the server from any intrusion, detect, and also restore and recover. The cyber resilient architecture has maintained the comprehensive of security coverage, but the 3 focus area where Dell really focuses on is protection, which is purely to protect the server during every aspect of the life cycle, including BIOS, firmware, data, and physical hardware. Another key thing is you're looking at is detect. So where detect, you're talking about detect malicious cyber attacks and improve changes and engage IT administrators proactively. Like for example, if something happens, in case they find any difference and detect it's there, the IT administrator is advised proactively. And then finally, it's recover. It's how fast, in case of an intrusion, how fast can you be able to recover? So those are the key strategies that Dell has really engaged when it comes to cyber resilience architecture for the built-in security. So this includes the detect, protect, and recover. With that all said, I don't have much but to say for the rack servers or for the PowerEdge servers or modern data center. All you need to know, like what we talked about, the transformation, where we were talking about the digital transformation, IT transformation, where digital transformation meaning that the kind of application that the customer is planning to run, are they equipped to be able to run on the cloud? So those are the key aspects when it comes to modernization. The other aspect is we're talking about the IT transformation. So achieve transforming your customer, transforming their infrastructure. So are their infrastructure able to match to the body looking at? Because most they find that most of the customers are changing their to assess the support the digital transformation that they have. And then there's also another key feature which you're looking at, the workforce transformation. So yes, you're doing transformation. You're also modernizing your IT infrastructure by doing IT transformation, but also your workforce is also very equipped to be able to access the digitally available information which you're already having in the system. And then lastly, which is the key thing, security transformation. With being modernized and being digitally available, you're also at risk of security. So security transformation is also a very key thing when it comes to modernization of data centers. So like now, if you're going outside and getting your customers, Dell EMC has the capability of achieving all the transformation levels that the customer requirements wants. So with that all said and done, I just wish to thank you for listening to me. I think I took much of my time, more than 30 minutes. But in case of any questions, I think Rajesh could now share to me so that I can answer them. Okay, guys, thank you very much for attending the training. I know right now it's difficulties in terms of working from home. Even also me, I'm facing so much difficulty, but we stay safe. Like I said, Dell Technologies has so many solutions that you'll find really very much interesting. So my next training will be next week on Thursday, but now we'll be looking more on the storage platform. It will be also very much interesting for you to attend. I hope the whole team also come, because those are the kind of things that also helps you to learn about most of the what Dell EMC has to offer. So be available for Thursday next week if you have time. Thank you very much for attending the training. I know the interaction hasn't been much, but I hope you got something from what I was presenting. In case of other questions, you can always send me an email. I can always assist you, because that's what I'm here to help you out on. And main thing, keep safe and stay home.